a little bit by way of introduction, I've been going to Slovenia quite regularly for 3 years now, as my stepdaughter and her family were relocated there from South Korea. And I found it a scenically very attractive, and ecologically green and varied country, strongly Catholic, lots and lots of outdoor pursuits, and folklore and heritage feature also very strongly in the life of the Slovenes. So these are the aspects of Slovenia that I want to explore this evening, having documented these issues on holidays. So this is holiday photography, I'm afraid, but hopefully it's a little bit more than simply some of me holiday snaps, as some people say. Okay, now I put this up because it's a strange, unexciting image to start with. It happens to be where my stepdaughter lives, and I'm using it simply as a springboard to make my first point. I want to explore the fact that you don't have to travel very far in Slovenia to discover opportunities and locations to make images. Okay, Roger? All you've got to do is turn around 180 degrees from where I was standing just now, and this is what you see. We've got the Krajvek ski centre about 10 kilometres north, a typical Slovene farm, typical Slovene hayrack, and a bit of local bird life. But that's just literally the other side of the road from the very unexciting, pleasant enough, but unexciting estate image that you saw to start with. Yes, thank you, Roger. Another day, another lens, similar image, or similar photo rather of the same scene, and Krajvek mountain lit up. It's a very popular ski resort. I haven't got any skiing tonight. Sorry, Richard McCleary, but skiing doesn't feature in this particular exploration. Okay, next one, please. Now, all you've got to do is to turn literally, make a quarter turn to the left from where I was taking the previous photograph, and we've got Smartna Gora mountain. It's the iconic mountain for the capital, Ljubljana. We're about 5 kilometers outside the capital. Monastery on the top. All the inhabitants of Ljubljana make sure they pilgrimage up there at least once a year. They even take 3-year-olds up there, and it's quite a steep climb. I managed it a couple of years ago. I thought I was shamed into. I thought I'd better go. 1.5 hour climb up the through a track. And next one, please. Although before you, sorry, slightly out of order. Different view of Smartna Gora. Again, going back to my theme. Even just standing literally by an unassuming estate, there are lots and lots of images to be made at different times of the year and different times of the day. And another one, I think is probably the same, sunflowers once more, with Smartna Gora in the distance. Okay, so as I said, a couple of years ago, I decided to make the trip to the top, set off one morning. Yes, Roger? And started climbing. And again, Roger, lots of little shrines on the way. I mentioned the fact that Slovenia is a very Catholic country. Shrines, I think there are 3 or 4 on the climb. Yes, thank you, Roger. Deserted farmsteads. And eventually, next one, Roger, you get to the top. The church actually at the top is very, very rarely open. It's a destination, it's a leisure destination, I'm afraid, for most of the locals. As you can see, there's a cafe and restaurant. And next one. And people go up there simply to relax, often spend the best part of the day up there, enjoying the view. We started taking images just on the road that leads diagonally and across the foreground from right to left. That's the village of Gamelina. Turn slightly to the east, and this is the view you get from the top of Smartna Gora. And again, turn around to the north, and once more to the west, and in the distance you can see the capital, Ljubljana. Okay, now back to the estate. If we walked past the 6 houses to the end of that little street that we saw, that little road that we saw just now, you come to my stepdaughter's house. From the garden, looking towards the city centre, the city's in the background, garden, and also from her dining room window, actually, we've got the little shrine leading across the fields. I said to start with, there are pictures everywhere in a very, very narrow area. And of course, you can imagine at different times of the year, different times of the day as well, and under different weather conditions. I've taken rather a lot of images of this little shrine. Okay. In the early morning, mist rolling in. There's quite a lot of mist actually in this part of Slovenia. And another one on a snowy morning. And even the next one, I hope, is going to be actually in a snowstorm. So variety of landscape, variety of images within a very, very narrow area are one of the attractions, for me anyway, of holidaying, if you like, in Slovenia. Right. We can leave the locality and actually go into the capital, into Ljubljana. Next slide. Sorry, beg your pardon. Smartna Gora again, but seen through one of the hayricks. They use these things all over the place in Central Europe, especially in Slovenia and Serbia, used for drying. The farmers use them for drying their hay. Okay. And so 25-minute ride on the local bus. It's only about 5 kilometers as the crow flies, but it takes a bit longer, I'm afraid, on the local bus to the center of Ljubljana. And the picture that everyone, all tourists know, certainly of Ljubljana, is of the Church of the Annunciation, 17th century Franciscan church on the banks of the Ljubljanka River, which is a tributary of the main river, the Sava, which runs right the way through a large part of the Northern Balkans, past the city. This is a tributary, and we'll be looking inside the Franciscan church in a few moments' time. Okay. Center of the city is dominated to a large extent by the work of Josef Plečnik, a Slovene architect who was born and bred in the city, founded the School of Architecture in the city, and was quite an important figure in Central European architecture towards the start of the first half of the 20th century. Very eclectic in style. He sort of fused and melded Byzantine, classical Roman, classical Greek, and some early postmodernist traits in his architecture. This is the market square, the market house, right in the center of Ljubljana, just opposite, literally opposite the Franciscan church. So once again, you see variety. Okay. Thank you. Back to the just off the main square. Another of Plečnič's main creations is the triple bridge, which you can see in the center of the picture. It's basically started off as a road bridge, and then he added two pedestrian carriage walkways either side to turn it into a triple. Okay, back on the river again with the market house, sorry. Thank you. And again, and by night. So I try and get a little bit of variety, and you've seen one mono, and here's a night shot to go with the nice blue sky, fluffy cloud images, which one expects on holiday. Okay. A lot of bridges, of course, in the city centre over the Ljubljanka. This is another of Plečnič's bridges, the Cobbler's Bridge, originally because it led to a street of cobblers on the right-hand side. He was very fond of these balustrades, which you can see everywhere, which are very much a feature of his architectural embellishments of his buildings. A green city, I said, yes, most cities have gone down this route now, obviously, but I understand that that Ljubljana was one of the very first to have these green bikes for hire, free bikes for hire. Okay, another bridge, the Dragon Bridge, again built by Plečnič. You can see the balustrades. Called the Dragon Bridge. The dragon is the symbol, the icon of Ljubljana city. Okay. Back to the center again. And this time we'll go inside the Church of the Annunciation. Very ornate, very baroque, very dark. You'd certainly need a tripod here. And I think there are a couple of shots basically of the altar, which I sneaked during a mass. Okay. Why are these so small on the screen? Don't know, don't understand. Sorry. And another one. That's getting a little bit better. Sort of Baroque architecture, which one's very used to seeing, of course, in southern Germany and in Bavaria and in Austria in particular. The Austro-Hungarian influence on architecture and on life and culture is very, very strong. A lot of the cuisine, for example, certainly in central northern Slovenia, is very, very similar to southern Austrian, Tyrolean cuisine. Okay, now back on the bridge. If you're fed up with landscapes, you're fed up with photographing churches and interiors and bridges, there's always an opportunity for a lot of people photography, candid people photography on the bridge. And I spent a lot of time hanging around on the triple bridge, photographing those perhaps thinking at some stage of getting married, okay? Those who've actually tied the knot and got married. And then those who've had a little bit more experience of the joys of matrimony on the bridge. There are attractions as well in the form of, thank you, Roger, street performers. And then the next one is of a very miserable character, I'm afraid, who has the monopoly on music making on the bridge, busking on the bridge. He's really is an extremely bad-tempered musician. That's all I can say. However, again, I mentioned just now the the Austro-Hungarian influence, and he does look typically Tyrolean, doesn't he? The music is also very, very similar to Bavarian Oompa music. Okay, it's a university city and lots of young people. This was taken on the day that the high schools, the official high school matriculation day. They don't sign each other's shirts as our young people do. They write all over each other's faces and skin. I asked this young lady to pose by the bust of Adam Borovic. I thought it made a nice little generation gap picture, isn't it? He's looking rather disapprovingly at the way the young behave, 400 years or so later. Okay. You can do abstracts as well. Pletsch's balustrades. Use them in various ways to make pictures. Yep. And when all that's done, of course, the cafes lining the river bank come to life, especially after dark. There's a castle in Ljubljana. It's only about a couple hundred yards of where we've been by the bridge. As a castle, it dominates the old town. It's not a particularly imposing edifice in itself, but the location is quite spectacular. Thank you. There it is. And again, further afield. We've seen the Church of the Annunciation, the pink church we saw just now. The cathedral actually is about 150 meters or so away, and it's not a particularly imposing building. It's, as you can see, typically Bavarian, Austrian, Tyrolean in style. Okay. From the castle grounds, however, you can look out over the city, look down to President Square, which is the pedestrianised city centre at the bottom. Right at the bottom there, that leads on to the Triple Bridge. Again, you can see what a tremendous variety of buildings there are within the confines of a very, very small city centre. Okay, Roger. Back to the University Quarter, which again is literally only a couple of 100 meters down the road, with the music academy underneath the castle. The old town hall. And Pletsch's postmodernist university library, which apparently is highly thought of, highly admired by the architectural cognoscenti of this world. It doesn't do a great deal for me, but I thought I ought to take a photograph of it anyway. Okay. Again, just off the centre, literally 50 meters from the Franciscan church and the bridge, there's a bank. Well, what was a bank? It was the Cooperative Bank, decorated in secessionist, I believe is the term, style of the early 1920s. And some detail of the Cooperative Bank. So that's Ljubljana. We go back up and look across to Šmartna Gora and the village where my stepdaughter lives, from the castle ramparts, and we're now going to go beyond the city, up to the north, looking straight ahead towards the Austrian border in the next phase. Okay, Martin, Roger, I believe that's now beyond the city centre, the next file. Yeah, we are. Okay, so we're going up about 25 minutes drive, I suppose, beyond the capital, north of the capital, and go through 3 small towns on roads leading up to the Tregalev National Park and the Austrian, and the Julian Alps towards the Austrian border. First town we come to is Skofja Loka, little medieval town with its bridge leading to the old Capuchin monastery on the left, which you can't visit, I'm afraid. Okay. Again, the town centre, the square, very, very Austrian, Austro-Hungarian even in its in style. It came as a castle, regrettably, but there are a lot of castles actually in Slovenia, but none of them are particularly, I don't find them terribly impressive. They're really fortified manor houses as much as anything else. They're not military castles as such. This is the Skofja Loka castle. And then we leave Skofja Loka and work our way up towards the town of Kamnik. Start to get a bit wooded. After the wooded valley, we come to Kamnik itself, which is on the very verge of the national park of the Julian Alps, which you can see in the distance. This is quite a well-visited location. It's known as the Red Balcony of Kamnik. People just come out for the afternoon, climb up onto a little promontory and view the Alps and view Mount Tregalev in the distance over the red roofs of Kamnik. Okay. Again, these are all just basically very sleepy little towns, nothing going on very much, as you can see. However, Kamnik is the entrance to the Velika Plantina, the summer grazing alpine pastures which rise above the small town. You access them by cable car and then by chairlift, and you're really getting up into the wilds of the foothills of the Julian Alps at this stage. There are 2 or 3 slides, I think, coming up now of views. Of course, I was only up there for about an hour and a half, and quite early during the day, quite towards the middle of the day, I'm afraid. So there isn't the sort of dramatic landscape photography that you saw last week. Another view across to anyone else getting kicked out, or is it just me? Anyone else getting kicked out? Someone asked. I'm not, I don't think. Looking across again to Mount Tregalev. Okay, at the top of the, or rather at the top of the cable car, of the chairlift, there is there are the pastures themselves. There's even a little church up there, the Church of the Snows. Okay, and the little settlement of shepherds' huts. Now, this all looks very, very traditional and very picturesque, but I'm afraid I've got to say that these are absolutely modern. I say absolutely modern. I think they were all rebuilt about 25 years ago, because both Ljubljana and Slovenia, Yugoslavia as it was then, was occupied by the Germans in the Second World War. A lot of the Slovene, sorry, I mustn't use that word at the time. They weren't Slovene as such, they were Yugoslavs. A lot of this Yugoslav resistance based itself in the area around Skopje Loka and on the pastures. And when the Germans moved out, they decided to extract a little revenge and completely burnt and destroyed the whole of the settlement. It was rebuilt about 25 years ago in the style of the original style, of course. It's really just now more or less a tourist attraction, a very attractive one nevertheless. Okay. Again, wherever you look, 360 degrees of the mountains. Thank you. There are a couple of inhabited buildings up there. The ubiquitous cafe hotel owner, of course, who dresses up very happily very readily for anyone who wants to take a photograph of him in his traditional Slovene shepherd's outfit. Thank you. He looks well, doesn't he? I'll tell you why he's well, because they eat well. Next one. That's what they eat. Cheese dumplings with fresh fruit. I think with Jane Austen, who said, "Reader, I married him," wasn't it? Well, viewers, I ate it. And it is delicious, I can assure you. Okay, so we come down the cable car and travel on a few miles, not very many, 7 or 8 miles, no more, to the third little town we're going to visit before we get to the national park itself. It's a town whose name I have tremendous difficulty pronouncing, I'm afraid, so I'm not going to even try. But again, it is architecturally attractive and interesting. The nearer we get to Austria, of course, the more marked the Austro-Hungarian style of architecture becomes. Okay, here we are in the town centre, looking back from the previous monument, war memorial. And the Slovenes and the Slavs, they do have a sense of humour. Can you read the sign? Not buy one, get one free. But today, special offer, 2 drinks for the price of 1 drink. Sorry, or is it, no, sorry, is it 1 drink for the price of 2? 2 for the price of 1. Anyway, it's not your usual buy one, get one free. Oh, 2 drinks for the price of 2. That's right. Yes, 2. Thank you. Okay. Carry on through the green valley leading up to Lake Bled. Welcome back, Cheryl. Thank you, Roger. And before we get to Lake Bled, we arrive at the little village of Bohin, and Bohin Bistrica, I think it's called. And there in the centre, you can see the summit of Mount Triglav. Now, Mount Triglav really is the iconic mountain of Slovenia. It's rather like the Hajj for the Muslims. Every Slovene is supposed to climb, or at least make a damn good effort to climb Mount Triglav during his or her life. It's about about 8,000 feet up, and it wasn't climbed actually until about 1750 something, 1755, I believe. And this little group of statues here commemorates the local climbers, local guides who climbed Triglav for the very first time. Okay, Triglav in early morning. And again, more green river valleys take us through to what is I think it's coming up next. Yep, so the real tourist trap, the honeypot of tourism in Slovenia, Lake Bled. Lake Bled's got encompasses everything about Slovenia. It's got water, it's got castles, it's got a church, and it's also got hordes of tourists, I'm afraid, in the town itself. Lake Bled Island with a church in the middle, surrounded by forest at this stage, and then in the next slide, mountains in the background with Mount Triglav again on the far right. Zooming in onto the church, the island church. You can go out there with gondola type craft at a ridiculously extortionate price. Okay, and I was there just before the lockdown. We were there in late February actually for a week, and I went up to Bled hoping for some snow, but of course all I got was grey mist. But tried to make an image, a different image, for me anyway, of Lake Bled. More churches as we carry along the valley. Churches everywhere in Slovenia. You can even two here, look, within 300 yards or 400 yards of each other. Okay, up to Lake Bohinj. And water sports, a very, very popular outdoor pursuit activity in Slovenia. There will be more, a little bit more on that at a different angle in the second half. Okay, more churches as we make our way up to an area to the west, isn't it? That's right, to the west of Mount Triglav, which is up in the top right-hand corner of this map, towards the towns of Kobarid and Tolmin in the Soka Valley. Okay, Kobarid and Tolmin. Okay, and here we are in the Soka Valley, and it's a very, very different part of Slovenia. I have to confess a great ignorance. I'd hardly heard about the Isonzo front in the First World War, but just south of can't remember the name of the place now, never mind. Cheltenham, I believe it's called. Just south, there are the front line of the Isonzo front still exist and are still very well visited by very many. Now, the Isonzo front, Ernest Hemingway, the great American writer, served there as a volunteer during the First World War, saw very, very bitter fighting on a par with that of the Western Front. In fact, casualties were almost as great on this front as they were on the Western Front. Okay, Roger, sorry. It's overlooking the Sava River, and just behind us, from where that image was taken, we've got the frontline trenches looking out towards the Italian frontier, which is only 20 kilometers or so away. It wasn't the wet and the mud which was which contributed towards the difficult conditions on the Western Front. It was the cold, the ice and the snow. And it was those temperatures which killed almost as many Italians, Austro-Hungarians and Russians as enemy fire. So there are 3 or 4 shots now of the frontline trenches. Kept left as a permanent reminder. Sabotin, that's right, that's the name of the place. In the distance is the Italian frontier. And many, many thousands of Italians died. And just south of Sabotin, there is this rather impressive ossuary where the bones of so many of the Italians are interred. If we carry on south, we're going south now to the south of Slovenia, through rolling agricultural countryside, another imposing Catholic church in the middle of nowhere. We're getting nearer and nearer the Italian border, and if you look at this, this is also called Schmartner. Sorry, can you go back again, Roger? This is also called Schmartner, the village of Schmartner. It does have a sort of a Tuscan hill village feel about it, doesn't it? Very, very different from the architecture of and the atmosphere of the towns of Kamnik and Skopje Lokia that we saw just now. Okay, we're in the Gorica Hills at dawn. I do get up early sometimes. Very, very rarely, but occasionally. And then this road leads down to the coast. And Slovenia has a very, very short coastline. It's only about 20 kilometers, only one decent beach, so I'm told. It's very, very commercialized. But there is a rather attractive little town of Piran. And, you know, if that's not Italy, I don't know where it is. We look at the next image, the pastel shades of Piran, of stark contrast to the buildings, the architecture, and the design of so many of the Austro-Hungarian townships of the north of the capital. About a little bit suburb of Taxon, about 3 kilometers or so outside the city centre. The river Sava, which you can see in the background, starts in the Julian Alps, flows past Ljubljana, right the way across Slovenia, right the way across Serbia, and ends up somewhere in the Danube Black Sea, mouth of the Danube Black Sea area. It's one of the major rivers of the northern Balkans, and at Taxon there's a weir, as you can see there. A few years ago, the local Taxon canoeing kayaking club converted a stretch of the river just south of the weir to a whitewater canoe kayak course. I discovered it in 2017 on I think it's my first visit to Slovenia, and went down one afternoon and found some of the locals, some of the club members, younger club members, practicing, training, being instructed. Okay, Roger. So I took some shots of the club members. Now, a completely new sport for me. Some of you, I'm sure, are aware, I tend to photograph a lot of cricket, far too much for John Cook's taste. But this was completely new to me. I've got no experience whatsoever of water sports. However, I adopted the same approach as to my cricket photography. I tried to capture a significant moment. I tried to capture the emotions of the canoeists, and I tried to incorporate some pictorial elements in my images. They may be decent light, maybe the quality of the background, the water, different compositional attributes, using diagonals and frames and so on, and colour. So what follows, and we're going to go through these fairly quickly. There are about 20, I think, shots of canoeists and kayakers on the River Sava course. First of all, in 2017, the club members, and then a little later on, and I will tell you when, there was a 2018, I discovered that there was a World Cup event taking place. And I rather cheekily applied for a press pass. And to my immense surprise, got a press pass for one of the days. And so took some of the international competitors. Okay, so here we are still at the club. This was the club meet, club training session. Color and light helped with this shot, for example. And also the concentration on the face of the kayaker was something I particularly appreciated. I tried a little bit of color popping, something different one evening when I was bored here at home, sitting in front of the PC. And then here we go. I'll take these a little slower if you don't mind, Roger. This was the World Cup event in 2018. At the start, obviously, coming over the weir. This is where the clock starts. Okay. It's the holding area at the top. They're waiting their turn to tackle the course. Okay. Unfortunately, most of them wear white vests, which doesn't help. So one's got to look for the colourful canoe or kayak. One of the problems I quickly discovered on that very first visit is everyone else lost it.
I think we've all lost the main screen.
We've all lost the main screen, yes. And
yes, just got little boxes of everyone.
Here we are, screen sharing. As I was saying, one of the things I learned very quickly was the need to time the shot so that the handle of the paddle didn't obscure the face, the eyes of the kayaker canoeist. Consequently, there were an awful lot of shots went into the trash can. Here we go. Male and female races. Tried using the poles as a frame in this one rather than just having a plain water background. Again, you can see the whiteness of the water and the whiteness of the vest didn't help particularly. So it's all down to the colour of the canoe or the kayak as much as anything. I was using round about. I was using my 100 to 400 mil lens, probably around about 300 mil. A judge saw this one and he objected very strongly to the fact that it was spray over one of the eyeballs. So I cloned it out. Okay. I like very much the different attitudes on the faces. There's concentration, there's apprehension, there's exhilaration, there's fear sometimes. Thank you, Roger. And Well, that doesn't worry me, the fact that there's a lot of spray over the face there. I'm afraid that adds to the atmosphere. Okay. There's an interesting Japanese expression for you. They're not always that inscrutable, the Japanese. Thank you. And we come to the finish, gate number 21. So just a few shots of an aspect of Slovene life, which plays a very important, sorry, there are one or two more still. Plays a very important part in Slovene in the Slovene outdoor pursuits field. Gosh, there are more here than I thought. A British girl. That's an American. And this is the final one, I think, one of the Germans. So that was my excursion into sports, into Slovene sport. And now to finish with, there are two sequences, not terribly long, which explore a very, very different aspect of Slovene culture, folklore and heritage. We were there this February during the over the Shrove Tuesday period and the beginning of Carnival, beginning of Lent. Carnival has a very important part in Slovene life. In Ljubljana, it's called the Dragon Festival, which marks the beginning of Lent. And it happened to be the Saturday before the Shrove Tuesday, and lovely day. I managed to position myself inside the barrier of on the Cobbler's Bridge, and started taking pictures of the folklore procession, starting off with the old Ljubljana dragon. Okay, less interesting than most. There are bands, of course, the local bands. We could skip them quite quickly. Next band coming up. And then we get to the really interesting, for me anyway, part of the procession. This is what Lent in Slovenia is all about. The Korantovia. The Korantovia is Slovenia's most popular and ethnologically significant carnival event. It's been around for about 300 or 400 years. The main figure is the Korent. Groups of Korent wear these traditional sheepskin over jackets, dresses, coats, uniforms, call them what you wish, carry wooden clubs with hedgehog skins attached. These clubs, if they shake them, they make a noise, the noise of which is believed to chase away winter, because the presence of the Korenti in Slovene towns and villages at this time of the year announces the end of winter and the beginning of spring. So here is a group of Korents who come from the town of Pituj in eastern Slovenia. There are two types of Korent, in fact. There are the feathery Korent from the town of Markovici, and this lot are from Halotse, the horned ones. You'll see some feathered ones a little later on. Not only do they carry these clubs wrapped with hedgehog skins, to which, by the way, are attached handkerchiefs. The handkerchiefs they collect from all the girls and the young ladies from the town as they process, as they make their way through the townships. Around their waists, they've also got, you can see one in the background, you'll see some more later on, cowbells, which make a tremendous noise. The idea of the cowbells and the noise of the sticks and also and the bells is to, as I say, chase away the spirits, the evil spirits, the malevolent spirits of winter in preparation for the rebirth of the new year and spring. Okay, Roger. Here we have one of the corrents coming towards us. Very ornate headdresses. The masks all feature a long red tongue. I'm not quite sure why. Okay. And they stop periodically, of course, and dance and shake their bells and shake their clubs to the great delight of everyone. Okay, on we go. There is, I think, the red trousers, gaiters, and the green trousers, gaiters simply differentiate groups from different towns and different villages. Okay, here we are. Let's get a close-up of one of the masks. And the bells attached around their waist. They make a terrific noise, they really do, especially when you get a group of about 8 or 10 of them all jangling away merrily. Poor winter spirits must be frightened out of their lives. That's the object of the exercise anyway. Okay, the headpieces do differ. Here's a very spectacular horned current who's taken his headdress off. And the next. Not only are the actual corrents who, as I say, chase the spirits away, but over the years, the processions, the Korantovia processions have been embellished, if you like, by others, members of the community who dress accordingly to show that they are a part of the economic, social background to the Current festival. And so we get all sorts of people coming through. Yep, next please. Oh, sorry, next, first of all, we've got a different group coming. These are the Skoromanti, who specialize, Skoromachia, sorry, who specialize in the flowery hats and the sooty faces. This lot, what their speciality is, they don't think they collect handkerchiefs from all the girls and the females, the young ladies of the town or the village. They walk around and smear soot on their faces. Strange folk. Okay. Here's the main Kuranti group, the main Skoromachi group. Now these funny wooden things that they're carrying, the wooden pincers, they also use those to capture the girls whom they're going to smear with soot. Okay. Local bands intersperse the procession of the various groups. And then I think we come along to the individuals who follow on. They're not quite, sorry, another band, a wedding party this time. That's right, a Skoromachi wedding group from Podgrad. And the next. And then the groups and the individuals representing the different layers and stratas of societies. The gypsies, important element in Eastern Slovenian society. Yep, thank you. I think this was another wedding party, I'm not absolutely sure. And again, please. And again. This lot were interesting, representing the agricultural business area of the economy. They're whip crackers, cracking their whips. Okay. The farmers, they don't bring the original cow or horse or other livestock onto the bridge. And again, and another one, please. Individuals of all shapes, sorts, shapes, sizes, trades, professions, social classes follow along. The idea is to show to represent the whole of the community. Yep, next please. A wedding group, bourgeois wedding couple. And the next, entertainers, circus folk. And the next, a flower seller, slightly stylized. And the next, the old peasant and his wife. Yep, keep going, Roger. The Ivy Man. A little bit more about the Ivy Man in the next section, the last section. I'll tell you a little bit more about the significance of this particular dress then. And again, the Queen of Bohemia, I suppose, at one stage, the dim and distant past. Okay, the chimney sweep. Representing one of the many trades. A little sequence here then of another group of the Correnti. These are the feathery type, I think, aren't they? Now the guy in the front is each group of Corrents elects a prince of the carnival, and he is has the honour of ruling the town during the ceremonial period before and after Shrove Tuesday weekend, before Lent officially starts. Okay. They parade through the old town, having come off the bridge. There's the king of the prince of the carnival posing very happily in front of the Slovene Parliament building, actually. If you ask me why there are the significance of those particular sculptures to parliamentarians, I might leave it to your imagination to decide. Okay, the whole of that particular group of the feathery type of Corrents. And I think we see them dancing. Oh no, they're parading through past the church. And more, please. Yep. The only Koramachi who wear masks as such are those who are responsible for, I think they're the ones who are responsible for capturing the young girls and with their massive wooden pincers. This trio are obviously from a different village, different town to the others. Okay. Dancing in the streets in the centre of Ljubljana to chase away the evil spirits of winter. Okay, and another one. And again. And again. Oh, it's her again, him again, it again. And the gypsies. Another wedding pair. Now, Puss, do you see the badge on the groom's jacket? Puss, you'll hear a lot more about Puss in the final section. There's the old man. Some very intricate masks. The woodsman, log cutters. And finally, the blacksmith once more. Oh, sorry, the chimney sweep once more. And everyone takes photographs, of course. That's not a self-portrait. As everyone knows, that is not a canon. There are, just to quickly finish this little section, there are some of the locals dress up as well, and I think there are 3 or 4 slides here of the locals lining the route, enjoying the beginning of Carnival in Ljubljana. Okay, so we come, oh no, sorry, one more. I think this is the last one. There we are, that's definitely the last one. And so we come, these were taken on this Friday on the Saturday, I beg pardon, at the Dragon Festival in Ljubljana before Shrove Tuesday. On Shrove Tuesday, Pippa and I drove about an hour up into the mountains west of Ljubljana to the little town of Cheltenham. Now, Cheltenham celebrates Carnival very peculiar in a particular way. Their celebration is called the Cheltenham Laufaria. Laufaria literally means running through the town. The principles and the rationale of Carnival in Cheltenham are exactly the same as elsewhere. It's celebrating the death of winter, the disappearance of winter, and the advent of the new year and spring. Okay, Roger? But Cheltenham, as you could say there, he says on the poster there, one of the most recognizable traditional carnival mask figures in Slovenia. For centuries, the ceremony was performed according to unwritten rules, which were passed on from generation to generation, following oral tradition. Today, the group counts 25 characters, and the most distinctive feature is their wooden masks, all carved from lime wood. Okay. Now, Pust. Here's Pust in Cheltenham. Pust is Old Man Winter. And as you may have gathered from 1 or 2 comments I've already made, Old Man Winter is not a popular character. Old Man Winter has got to go. Old Man Winter has got to be executed. And Cheltenham sets about the execution of Old Man Winter in its own particular way. Old Man Winter's costume made of scraggy old moss. He's got the lime wood mask. He's horned he carries a spruce sapling. Okay. Now all this starts off a couple of days before, and Pust is arrested and incarcerated. Finally, on Shrove Tuesday at 12 o'clock in the town of Cheltenham, and by the way, as you can see there, it's pretty dull, pretty rainy, I'm afraid, this particular Shrove Tuesday. The old man, the guy in the red waistcoat, and his wife set out from the town centre, or the village centre, large village really, set out from the village centre to walk to the outskirts to look for the tool that they're going to use to execute poor old Pust. Okay. They're accompanied by the Laufaya family. Again, the same principle that we saw in the Dragon Festival. The rest of the figures in the carnival celebration represent the rest of the community, different social classes, different trades, different types. Okay. You've got, for example, the innkeeper. Thank you. You've got the village drunk. And you've got the string men. Now the string men are the military wing, if you like, of the whole business. They're the ones, they're the young men. They run around the village of Cheltenham, specifically, of course, with these great big switches, clearing the route, chasing away the spirits. Same principle as that of the Kurents in other parts of Slovenia. They help the old man look for the tool that he's searching for. Next slide, please. Here he is digging. And eventually finding the tool he's looking for, a mallet. The mallet is ceremonially washed in the stream, and then in the next image carried triumphantly back to the village, by which time it's around about 12:30, and in all civilized countries in Europe, of course, 12:30 means everyone repairs for a long, lazy lunch, and we see nothing until 3 o'clock. Meanwhile, in the town square, a courtroom has been set up, and at 3 o'clock on the dot, next slide, all the people waiting anxiously for the main event to begin. At just before 3 o'clock, the prosecutor, judge, and other officials make their appearance. We're all waiting, of course, for the next image, because poor old Pust is led into the square, accompanied by a stringman guard. And he's led in the next image onto the podium, onto the courtroom, mock-up, by the old man, who spends an awful lot of time banging with his mallet to make it all sound really rather a dangerous place to be. And in the courtroom, on the podium, we have representatives of the town. We've got the local lord, the lord of the manor in the middle with his wife. We've got the ivy man, who represents the new beginning, the new spring, with his wife. We've got sundry other characters there. You can see, I think it's the village, I think it was the undertaker in the middle, and then you've got the village idiot playing the accordion in the background. Okay. The judge arrives, to take up his position. Pust is getting a little bit excited at this stage, so he has to be kept under control. He's threatened by the old man, playing to the audience, of course. The crowd love this. Okay. And the prosecuting counsel begins to read the indictment. Now that indictment, you can see, is rolled up there. It's quite long. It takes about an hour for him to read out the list of charges against poor old Pust. And remember that Pust is responsible for all the ills and misfortunes, the deaths, the economic losses, the bad weather, everything associated with winter is Pust's fault. And consequently, Pust must die. Okay. He's not looking too happy. He knows his fate, obviously. On we go. Yes, on we go indeed. Look at the list of that charge sheet as the prosecuting counsel works his way through the list, the indicted charges. Okay. Some are bored, some are not. This is the drunk's wife. She has to put up with her old man and his drinking. She does it quite well. Okay. He's oblivious to most things by this stage. He's got his bottle. And again, please. Pust is getting more and more excited, so the old man has to control him. Still waiting for the prosecutor to finish reading the indictment. The drunk is pretty comatose by now. The string men look happy enough. Maybe it's those happy smiling faces. They know that the Mounties are going to get their man very soon. We're getting near the end of this long list of charges. I'd say it's taken well over an hour. Not quite sure who these people are, who they represent. Never mind. Nice masks, all made of lime wood, carved out of lime. And we get to the stage where the judge actually reads the decision and the sentence on Pust. Okay. At this stage, he's beginning to feel really grim. Hangs his head a little as he hears the death sentence which is pronounced. We're getting near the end of winter. A tumbril or cart is wheeled up onto the stage. And because there are children in the audience, of course, the actual execution is done in the next image very, very tastefully. It's just a symbolic tap on the head with the mallet. Pust is loaded, the body of Pust, of Old Man Winter, is loaded onto the tumbril, and the string men wheel him away for burial. Winter has been executed. Winter is dead. The town of Cheltenham is ready to celebrate the arrival of the new spring, the new year. Okay, so a little look at quite a well-known ethnographic event in Central European history.